Imagine this: one aircraft orbiting all alone above the expansive ocean. Although it has no weapons, this plane commands the skies and holds the fate of the entire carrier air wing in its hands. Sounds crazy, right? But this is the reality of the crew of the E2 Hawkeye. The E2 Hawkeye is a crucial aircraft in the world of naval aviation, with its primary role being in battle management and command and control for the carrier strike group. This all-weather twin-engine aircraft can carry 5, 2 pilots, and 3 naval flight officers. The iconic high-wing turboprop plane is easily identified by the massive rotodome attached to the top of its fuselage. The Hawkeye is considered to be the eyes of the fleet, orbiting far from the action but building situational awareness and a picture of the battle space. It performs essential tasks to ensure safety and effectiveness of the fleet, including airborne early warning, airborne battle management, surface surveillance and close air support coordination, strike coordination, and more. It's equipped with radar and surveillance sensors in order to identify thousands of potentially hostile surface and air threats to friendly aircraft, even ones that are located hundreds of miles away. Some may argue that the Hawkeye is the most important plane aboard modern-day carriers, as the remainder of the fleet relies on it in order to complete their missions. Designed by Northrop Grumman, the E2 Hawkeye had its first flight in 1960 and came into service in 1964, replacing its predecessor, the Grumman E1 Tracer. It was the first aircraft specifically created for airborne early warning and command and control, with the ultimate goal of keeping the fleet safe from enemies. In the early days, there were a number of development issues with the E2 Alpha, and as a result, only 59 were initially produced. After troubleshooting, 49 of the 59 aircraft were updated with improved computers and avionics systems, and they were dubbed the E2 Bravo. The Charlie model first came into service in 1973, and variants are currently being operated by Egypt, Japan, France, Israel, Mexico, Singapore, and Taiwan. In 2007, the Delta variant, dubbed the Advanced Hawkeye, came into service with the United States Navy and continues to support the force today. The E2 Delta is equipped with state-of-the-art radar capable of detecting 5th-generation fighter aircraft, updated avionics and electronic suites, satellite communications, a glass cockpit, and more. The first Hawkeye squadrons successfully completed aerial refueling training in 2020, enabling the aircraft to stay on station for up to 5 hours and increasing their total mission time to 7 hours. The Hawkeye currently holds the record for the longest production run of any carrier-based aircraft, and it hit the milestone of 1 million flight hours in 2004. The E2 made its combat debut in Vietnam, first deploying on the USS Kitty Hawk in 1965, and has since been crucial to naval operations across the globe. In the 1980s, the Hawkeye worked closely with F-14 Tomcats to ensure successful combat strikes in Libya, and aided in the downing of 2 Libyan Su-22s. In the 1980s, they directed both land attacks and combat air patrol missions for airborne forces during the Gulf War. The E2 was an essential asset that supported FA-18s, leading them to successfully shoot down 2 Iraqi MiG-21s. In recent times, the Hawkeye has proven its worth by supporting in-air attacks, close air support missions, and combat search and rescue during Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. Its efforts connected fighter aircraft and bombers with ground targets. Additionally, the Hawkeye has been put to work by United States law enforcement to aid in tracking drug smugglers. Aside from typical duties, the Hawkeye is capable of supporting rescue units and serving as airborne air traffic control. They can serve as flying command posts, as well as aid with civilian efforts during natural disasters, as it did in Hurricane Katrina in 2003. The Hawkeye has a maximum speed of 350 knots and a service ceiling of 34,700 feet. Like all carrier-based aircraft, it is equipped with a tailhook for landings and a nose wheel that can connect to components of the catapults aboard the carrier for takeoff. It also has wings that fold in to make it easier to fit in hangars on the carrier. Most notably, it sports a 24-foot rotating radar rotodome mounted above the fuselage and wings. The rotodome of the E2 is a technological marvel. Although it may look awkward and clunky, it actually has the ability to create enough lift to offset its weight when the aircraft is moving. It can also be retracted by 2 feet for easier storage aboard the carrier. The dome carries a radar system so powerful that one sweep can cover 6 million cubic miles, and it houses antennas for the IFF systems. Identification Friend or Foe, or IFF, is a system that utilizes transponders and electromagnetic frequencies to interrogate and identify other aircraft, vehicles, and forces as hostile, neutral, or friendly. It can also locate their position, providing a bearing and distance relative to the aircraft. When deployed, the aircraft carriers typically have 4 to 5 Hawkeyes on board as part of the carrier air wing at any one time. This allows them to constantly be operating with at least one airborne at all times, while providing downtime for maintenance in the hangars for others. The crew of the Hawkeye is unique. There are 2 pilots and 3 naval flight officers, all serving in different roles. One serves as the radar officer, controlling the weapon systems like the radar and IFF. The second acts as the aircraft control officer and is in charge of the air wing assets. And the third serves as the Combat Information Center officer, filling the role of mission commander and looking at the big picture. Unlike on modern fighter jets, the Hawkeye does not have digital flight controls, and landing the plane on a moving aircraft carrier is completely reliant on the skill of the pilot at the controls. As the largest plane aboard the carrier, this requires a great deal of finesse, especially at night. The Navy is currently the only branch of the U.S. military utilizing the E2. In total, there are 11 Hawkeye squadrons stationed at 2 main home ports. On the East Coast, Naval Station Norfolk in Norfolk, Virginia, and on the West Coast, Naval Air Station Point Mugu in Point Mugu, California. One squadron, VAW-125, stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni in Iwakuni, Japan. The E2 Hawkeye is a vastly underrated and incredible aircraft, serving as the command center for modern-day carrier aviation. They have the ability to communicate not only with other aircraft, but with ground forces, ships, and submarines. These multi-mission aircraft are not only essential to the success of friendly forces in engagements, but they are also crucial for their survival. But who are the biggest players the Hawkeyes are supporting and working with? While the Hawkeye commands the skies and is the eyes of the fleet, it's the EA-18 Golf Growler that can blind the enemy. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time.